Hello everybody and welcome to another video. In today's video we're going to be taking a look at how to create a working contact form that sends results directly to your email inbox for free using Formspree. For the purposes of this video, we're going to be taking this Chinese takeaway website and implementing their order online functionality, which is just going to be a React form that we've already built, but we haven't implemented the contact form end to end. So to get started, we need to hop over to the formspree.io website. I'll leave a link to this in the description down below. Once we're on the website, we need to click Get Started, and then if you haven't used Formspree before, if you just create an account, and then once you've created an account, you should see a screen that looks something like this. What we're going to want to do is to first create a project. A project is kind of like a folder. I tend to use them to describe the website that I'm creating, so in this case, I'm going to call my project Takeaway Demo. Then, inside a project, we're going to want to create a form, and so we will call our form Order Form, and then just click Create Form. This is pretty much all we need to do on the Formspree website, and this gives us all we need to create our working form. You'll see a URL on screen right now, and this is what we will be using in our React application to communicate with Formspree, but more on that in a moment. For now, let's hop into our code editor to start making the changes required to make our form work end to end. Currently, in our React project, we just have a very basic form, which creates the form you saw on the Chinese takeaway website. If you haven't got a form like this already on your site, I'll leave the code to this in the description down below so you can copy or take inspiration from it. To make our form work end to end, we need to essentially call Formspree when the user clicks the Submit button on the form. When the user currently clicks the Submit button, our application calls the handled Submit button. And so this function is where we'll need to edit and implement the call to Formspree. Now, this is where the URL that we saw in Formspree will come in handy. We essentially need to call this endpoint that Formspree has provided us with the data from our form. And then Formspree handles the rest and sends our specified email address an email with the data from the form. To handle this call to the endpoint, we are going to implement a try-catch statement. A try-catch statement allows us to attempt to call an endpoint, and if there are any errors in the call, we are able to handle them in the catch statement. So we will begin by writing a try statement, and we will create a variable called response, and in that variable, we will call the Formspree endpoint. So we just need to head back into Formspree to grab the endpoint URL and copy it. This call needs a little bit more information, such as the method, which is going to be a post request because we are just sending data. And then the type of the payload we will send will be JSON, and so we will specify that the content type of the payload is JSON. Then we will define the body, and the body is the payload that we are sending, so this will be our form. And so we will create a JSON object of the form data. In our case, that's going to be all the fields that we want to send to our email address when a user fills in the form. So that's going to be the user's name, phone, address, and their order. And this is everything that we need to do to successfully send the form to Formspree. And if we stopped here, if a user entered the contact form and submitted, we would receive an email successfully in our inbox. However, it's good practice to give the user feedback that their form has successfully sent. So now what I'm going to do is when the user has successfully submitted the form, Formspree's endpoint will return an OK response. And I can access that information by asking response.ok. And so if I say if response.ok, what I want to do is to clear the fields in the user interface to indicate the form has successfully sent. We do this by simply resetting the state value of each of the fields. The final thing we need to do in our code is to handle the error case, the case where the call to Formspree fails for any reason. To do this, we'll just implement the catch part of our try-catch statement. This is going to be a very general catch. As I say, we're just going to catch any error. And to catch any error, we're literally just going to console.error saying error submitting form and then the error that caused the request to fail. And because we're now making a request and waiting for it, we just need to edit handled submit to be an asynchronous function rather than a synchronous function. And we do that by updating the function at the top here. Now, let's test that our code works. So we'll hop back onto our website and we'll click Order Online. And then we'll add some information to this form. We'll type in a name, a phone number, a delivery address, and then an order node. And then we'll press Request Order, and we see that we received a success message. Now, we'll go into our email, and we can see that the form has successfully submitted via Formspree, and we've received the information that we typed into our form via an email from Formspree. Thank you for watching this video. If you'd like to see tutorials on how to deploy your React app to a fully hosted website, please check out my AWS Amplify tutorials. The link will be on the screen right now. Catch you in the next one.